7:30 a.m., 103.9 FM, Jocks, Huntsville. This is Off the Bench. I'm your host, Kelsey Huffine. Of course, alongside me, sitting to my left here on YouTube, we got, of course, co-host Richie with us.
Good morning.
We got Pops sitting on the other side of us. Pop's having a little bit of a mic issue.
We're good.
Having a little bit of a problem with the mic arm staying up. So he's going to play a more limited part in the show today. But don't worry, he is still a part and with us today. Talking when he can. He got to stand up out of that chair while he's doing all the production side as well with us. But yes, we are live on YouTube today. You can find us over there at Off the Bench CFB Show if you want to follow along the show with the video included. You can do that too now. We get a lot of news today. You can see it up already on the graphic on YouTube. Kiffin to Florida is seemingly heating up just as we thought it was going to die down. It is even more skyrocketed. And I've grown on this, and I was telling Richie before the show, I have grown to be 50-50 on this move. I don't know what is going to happen towards the end of the season. Of course, it's going to finish out the season with Ole Miss, but then there's question marks flying. Will this hurt recruits? Will this seemingly see some decommits from Ole Miss? Maybe switch over to Florida. We could see some news in that department. If we see a decommit from Ole Miss and commit to Florida, we could see some question marks start to rise.
I completely disagree with you. I think there's 0% chance he leaves Ole Miss. I think this is a money grab. I think just the talk being, but I will tell you this. If you are correct with your 50-50, so if he does, the amount of transfers that will immediately leave Oxford, Mississippi for the Sunshine State will be, I mean, the 747 direct flight from whatever the closest airport in Oxford, Mississippi is, landing in Gainesville will be full of 5 stars just, and Florida is immediately a top 10 team and a playoff contender.
Look, I mean, we talked about, top 15 jobs in the country. Florida is 100% one of those, even with the losing seasons they have had in the past, over the past couple of years, ever since Urban has been out of town there.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, they have grown their football facilities. You have state-of-the-art, brand new facilities over there. Okay. I don't think Ole Miss can compete with that.
No.
Facility standpoint. Obviously, they have built and grown their facilities and grown alongside Kiffin being their head coach. But you're right. Once he takes that job, that becomes an even more powerful part of the country. I mean, you just added so much more to the. I think a better led Florida team is more powerful for the SEC than a better led Ole Miss team. It just carries more weight. And I wish we could sit here, or, I'd like to sit here and say the SEC West would grow even more, but obviously we don't have West and East anymore in the SEC. But man, I think this one is really going to create shockwaves even until this job is either accepted or declined. Florida is going to go after a top dog, a top head coach in the country. They're not going to go the route of group of 6 anymore. They're not taking that route. They don't want a coordinator. They want to make that splash hire to put themselves back on the map.
And we've talked about it too many times, Kels. I mean, what the best coaches that are out there? You got Franklin. Okay. You got Franklin. I keep saying that.
Franklin, Gruden, maybe. You're looking at, Gundy could get back in there. You could see Urban get back in there. You could see Dan Mullen jump across the country again.
I tell you what, though, I think for me, I think Kiffin is too proud of a person to make the jump right now, meaning that he is building something at Ole Miss. Okay. Ole Miss a couple of years ago, just another one of the 2 Mississippi schools. Yeah. Okay. And now he's a top 10 team. He's got them playoff bound, and he's building that piece. I recognize that recruiting pipeline in Florida would be locked down in Florida Florida if Kiffin were to go there. But I think he's got too much going on there at Ole Miss.
We also have to recognize the impact of a coach like that in Florida, how that recruiting pipeline takes a toll on it, okay? Because a lot of these great Alabama teams, their defensive players, was grown off that pipeline in Florida, okay?
Absolutely.
Georgia as well, Auburn. There's been so many players that have come through that pipeline that Florida has missed out on because they don't have that guy at the helm.
I don't I'm going to stand on this. I don't think it happens.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, God, can you imagine the world's largest cocktail party? Kiffin, Kirby, and I'm gonna push back on something Pop said there for just a second, that he's building something at Ole Miss. He is building something at Ole Miss 1 year at a time. He had 70 something transfers like a year ago. He had like 60 something this year. So I don't see this. And unfortunately, with college football, there is no more this building. It's who can I bring in and because I mean, okay, game days in Vanderbilt today. Not to completely jump games. Next year, well, after Pavia gets his 17th consecutive eligibility season, when he does finally leave Vanderbilt's going back to where they were.
Well, I mean, depending on what Clark Leah can do over there, replace Pavia, but we really haven't seen any moves to kind of impact the future there in a way. I mean, they've built in, they invested in their offensive line this year for Pavia. So when that happens, who knows? Or we could see him jump and take another job. We could see him jump and go down to Auburn if Hugh gets fired, or
when Hugh gets fired.
When Hugh gets fired, maybe he's a replacement up at Penn State. They go the Vanderbilt route again after James Franklin.
But I was saying that to go back to if Kiffin does leave Ole Miss, does Ole Miss just go back to being Ole Miss?
No,
6-6. Occasionally they have a good run where they beat somebody they're not supposed to. The Mississippi State, the South Carolina, the historical. This is where you are. Or has even Lane Kiffin being there for so long changed the DNA of Ole Miss?
It's changed the DNA. And I think in a part of this is going to impact. We're talking about the impact of both these schools. It's going to impact one more school. Okay. Why was the reason Nick was hired? Why was the reason Saban was hired? I'm hitting on John Paul. John Paul, real quick, he was on YouTube hitting us up on the socials. I heard Nick Saban might be the new coach of the Florida Gators. That's not happening. That's not happening.
I think John Paul is picking Nick Saban to go to everywhere but Alabama.
He is. That's
he's
trolling us right now.
He's trolling us right now just to get us talking about Alabama. And it's coming. Don't worry, it's coming.
It's too early to be trolling.
But what was the reason Nick Saban was hired at Alabama? It was a response to something else. It was a response to Auburn's success.
Yes. Okay.
That was the reason Alabama invested in that. You're going to see that in Mississippi State if Kiffin stays at Ole Miss, because we've already seen this investment into athletics, or from football specifically for Ole Miss. It's going to go even deeper if he stays there, okay? And they're going to get that going, which is going to force Mississippi State's hand to either invest heavily into NIL, extend Levy over there, and Levy's had some success this year, maybe not some overall success that a lot of people were hoping for, or they go a different route and fire him and hire a better head coach.
So I'm going to completely push back on you on Mississippi State.
Yeah.
I think, unfortunately, I'm very familiar with Mississippi State. It's my second team for the last 14 years.
Damn Cowbells.
Yes. I had a bunch of those in my house for a while. That's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But Mississippi State, unfortunately, is quite happy being a 6-6 team. They send all their money to the baseball team, and and the second is basketball. They actually care about basketball. They wouldn't have done that Levy thing in the first place if they were trying to push back against Ole Miss. I think they hate Ole Miss. I think Mississippi State would love for Lane Kiffin to leave, because I think Mississippi State thinks the second Lane Kiffin leaves, Ole Miss drops back down to 6-6. You win the Egg Bowl and you're 7-5, and Mississippi State, they want to beat two teams. Their two favorite teams are Mississippi State and whoever's playing Ole Miss.
All right, I got something else to add to all this. So, how old is Lane Kiffin at this point? I'm going to bring the age thing in.
46,
45.
Yeah.
Okay, how many different teams has he been with? Let's count them.
Well,
grief.
Good go.
Do we have time for that?
Yeah, Vegas, USC, Tennessee, OC at Bama. He was at FAU. Then he got brought over to Ole Miss.
Okay, so at USC he got ran out of town. At Tennessee he got ran out of town. Bama, You know, he was the offensive coordinator here, right?
Yeah.
My point is when I said about the legacy piece of it, he's getting a little bit older in age. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get into the mindset of Lane Kiffin here. And this is pure speculation on my part, but he's getting a little bit older in age. Okay. I think, you know, if you really sit back and think about that angle of it, he's not going to go anywhere. He is building something special at Ole Miss. He's taken then from that Ole Miss, that Mississippi team to a good team. And if he was to jump again, okay, what does that say about his character? What does that say about who he is as a person? I mean, he had something going on at Tennessee.
And how many more millions of dollars can you actually spend?
Well,
Yeah.
that's understandable. But okay, so you want to hit on the point of legacy, and I could hit on you in two sides of this and play devil's advocate with you. Would his legacy be greater at Florida or Ole Miss? Even if you had the position of jumping
Ooh.
teams, okay?
That's
I think
fair.
in the long run, Florida, you would have a greater legacy there because there's greater history in Florida.
He wins an okay.
Yeah.
Play along with me here for a second.
Yeah.
He takes the Florida job. 3 years later, he wins a national championship.
Yeah.
Lane Kiffin is now the what greatest person to be at the University of Florida?
Second.
Third at best.
Let's
So
say
you have Urban and who else?
No. I'm not even counting
You're
Urban.
not counting Urban. He won a national championship.
Spurrier.
Spurrier,
yeah, we're
yes.
forgetting about the old ball coach.
Yeah.
Tim Tebow is number one.
Well,
At,
yeah,
at-
if
at-
you're going through that, yes.
at best, Lane Kiffin wins a national championship there. He's third.
Yes.
He wins an SEC championship at Ole Miss. They put a statue of him up.
Yeah, he's the greatest.
Yes.
He even gets them to Atlanta. Ole Miss has never gone to
But
Atlanta.
If he can beat out the old ball coach at Spurrier, then he's up there with the greats. Comfortable, or was he a gambler? And I think Kiffin's a gambler. Kiffin's gambled throughout his whole career.
I
And
think
he's lost. But man, that's his stereotype.
But at some point in time, you lose so much gambling that you have to walk away from the table.
Yes, but there's one other point that we have to hit on here that we're forgetting about completely. Where does Kiffin's daughter go to school?
That would be Ole Miss.
You think he'll leave his daughter until she graduates?
Now her boyfriend.
Well, it's the LSU, but
Yeah,
Kiffin's not.
she might end up
Kiffin
at
could go to
LSU, man.
We'll see what happened with Brian Kelly over there. I think LSU would kill to have Kiffin.
Kiffin would die at LSU. Just the bourbon in the air alone would take Kiffin out.
Walking
I'm
down
sorry.
Bourbon Street.
Yeah. I think Kiffin at his older age, there's been a lot of
Older
change
age.
with him. A whopping 40 something, mid
His
40s.
old age.
I think he has he has embodied Ole Miss football.
I mean, you talk about age, though. Okay, we saw Kurt Signetti on the sideline at Bama, 15 years ago?
Yeah.
Kurt Signetti was over there. He dropped off, took a Division II job. All he's done is win since then. And then he's got the job at James Madison. Then he won there, took the job at Indiana. He's now 60, late 60s.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Kiffin's got a long time. Y'all talk about him like he's 70. He is not as old as Saban, guys. He has got 20 years left.
Imagine what he could
25 years
build
left
at
in the
Ole
tank.
Miss in 20 years.
Imagine what he could build at Florida in 20 years.
I know that pipeline. Said the recruiting pipeline is everything.
Yes.
Okay, let's go back to James Franklin.
Okay.
James Franklin has been at worst case scenario, he's a B+ coach, right?
Yes.
At worst case scenario.
Yeah.
He was phenomenal at Penn State for how many years?
Yeah, and if you line up him and Kiffin side by side, it's unquestionable that Kiffin's the better coach statistically.
No disagreement there.
Yeah.
Franklin loses 3 games in a row, and Ole Miss runs him out on a rail. He loses 3 games in a row at Ole Miss. Nobody says anything.
No.
He loses 3 in a row at Florida, and it's the hot seat again.
Yes.
Which is leaving you on the tarmac
Well,
as the team's leaving California.
Florida's very aggressive when firing head coaches. Okay?
Absolutely.
And they gave Napier a very, very long leash. They gave him another year because they didn't have an AD. They didn't want to go through a coaching search at the moment. So they waited a year, invested that to NIL, and it didn't pay off.
Yeah.
Okay?
And they knew at this season's the schedule, the Florida schedule is
It's
just
outrageous.
stupid.
So you would have had a coach come into that completely rebuilding a team with the hardest schedule in the country. So it'd be ridiculous. You probably would have went through another head coach.
I'm
If you
pretty
would fire
sure-
Napier.
I'm pretty sure Florida plays the Bears next week. Like that's how bad their schedule is.
And you're putting a very inexperienced quarterback against that schedule in DJ Lagway.
Yes. All right. We got to move on here. We got to take a quick break. You're listening to 7:30 a.m. 103.9 FM, Jocks Huntsville. This is Off the Bench. go get into our pick'ems real quickly here. You got into 11 o'clock, guys. You can find that on our Facebook page. Just leave a comment. Tell us who you're picking for. And just, we'll get into the action here. Get involved in the show. Hit us up on socials, on YouTube, on Facebook. Respond to it all here live on the air. This is Off the Bench. We'll be right back. 7:30 a.m. 103.9 FM, Jocks, Huntsville. This is Off the Bench. We're now sponsored by Ray Ray's Burritos. So good you had to name it twice. He promises they're not that spicy.
That's his tagline.
We're not really. We had a good buddy show up, brought us burritos. They're going to be great. We're very happy with them. Breakfast burritos are always great here at Off the Bench. We're always appreciative of gifts like that. And we can accept gifts because we're not the NCAA and we're not Jeremy Pruitt.
Speaking of the NCAA and Jeremy Pruitt.
Jeremy Pruitt, news broke this morning, former Alabama defensive coordinator and Tennessee head coach. He's got some development working that he's trying to get back on the sidelines in college. He's filed a lawsuit against the NCAA seeking $100 million in damages. He also alleges that the NCAA conspired with the University of Tennessee in its investigation, that he made a sacrificial lamb. The NCAA's Division I Infractions Appeal Committee upheld the major findings of violations against Pruitt. But more recently, Pruitt is seeking a court injunction to block enforcement of a show cause order so he can be hired by an FBS school in some capacity.
How much did you say?
$100 million in damages.
Out of control.
How much?
$100 million.
That's chump change for the NCAA, right?
In a way, yes. In some capacity, yes. But yet I will never see that in my lifetime, that kind of money. Pops is right. The money's getting out of control. It's ridiculous. It's floating everywhere around the country, including in the NBA and in some capacity with the mob. But
that's a whole nother segment.
Whole nother segment we could go over today. But Pops made the question during the break there. What school would hire Pruitt? And I hit back very quickly. A Sun Belt or Conference USA school would, I think, be more than happy with probably starting out as an OC again. I mean, Pruitt's going to have to initially restart his career. Pruitt's not going to come back from this very easy. Saying that this actually could have been legal just a couple. Now it's, what he was doing, he could have done it legally now.
Right. And the NCAA is not going to give in. They're going to fight it. They may eventually settle without telling anybody what they actually settled for, which will be like $1.50 and a free Coke that he can put on the stand when he takes a Conference USA job.
Well, you start high and end up low. It's going to be a negotiation essentially with the lawyers and figuring out what's the best outcome for this. But I still think Pruitt could still have enough time to get a top job. Again, Pruitt's 45?
he's
got time.
Old,
but remember how long it took them to give Bush his Heisman Trophy back. I mean, we finally just got that a couple of years ago. It feels like yesterday because it took so long.
Why does Pruitt feel 45 young and Kiffin feels 46 years old? To go back to the previous segment.
I'd actually flip that. I think Pruitt might even seem younger than Pruitt.
Really?
Kiffin,
okay.
Yeah, Kiffin might seem younger than Pruitt.
Yeah, to me, Pruitt's old. I don't know why.
How long
stereotyping? It seems like forever ago.
It does. How long ago was Pruitt at Tennessee? I mean, it's been
3 years?
18 to 22 or 18 to 20. That's when he was
20. Wow, so 5 years.
5
wow.
years.
Okay, yeah, my bad. My deepest apologies for that one.
And to say, Pruitt was a great coordinator at Alabama. He was a great coordinator. Okay, so coaching high school football, obviously wasting a talent there.
And he sees the writing on the wall with all these head coaches. I mean, by the end of next month, because this is the last Saturday of October, you could have LSU open. You could have Ole Miss could be open. Auburn could be open.
I'd agree. Why not fight it? Pruitt's just sitting down there in high school football. He needs to fight this, and he needs to get back up here. That's Pruitt's angle here. 7:30 a.m. 103.9 FM, Jocks, Huntsville. This is Off the Bench. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. 7:30 a.m. 103.9 FM, Jocks Huntsville. This is Off the Bench. I'm your host, Kelsey Alfine. To my left, sitting in with me is co-host Richie, of course, and Pops across from us, right off the camera. He's still with us. Mike is not up to shape today, but it's punching through. And it's not actually technically his mic. It's a mic arm, just did not want to stay up. But we got it propped right now, so he's still able to be with us today. Of course, back at the station, we have Walker sitting in for us. Walker, thank you for doing probably the toughest part of the show, even though you don't get all the extra stuff that comes with it. And it's so thankful from us.
We got to get ready to take our burrito.
We do, yes. We'll get ready to make you a special burrito for Walker over there. Doing the hard
Light it up, Ray.
to help us out here.
It may be a day late, but it'll be fine. Just throw the mic away for a couple seconds.
John hit us up on YouTube. John Little on YouTube. Hit us up. You can hit us up too on the socials. You can do so at Facebook, of course, at Off the Bench, and of course on YouTube as well. John said, "Good to see you boys killing it again today." Well, thank you very much.
Good morning, John.
Good
Appreciate
morning.
it.
We're having a fun time this morning. Getting ready for football today, of course, and it should be a very, very fun day of football. With presumably Alabama should have an easy game, but we said the same thing about last year against South Carolina, and it did not turn out that easy. So
at home.
Yeah, at home. Hopefully this should be a different tide today. But of course, this is our last show within Jocktober here in the month of October. Moving on to November next week, of course, Miss Dana's charity kickball tournament kicking off at 1 o'clock, kicking off next week on November 1st at 9 o'clock on Saturday. We'll be there live on location. More on that a little bit later. We're going to get to that soon. Richie, I know you had another segment you had brought us today.
Yeah, I've got one for you.
Traffic building up on I-65 toward the college football playoff.
So, and I'll have actually for once I'll have a segment that leads into talking about an actual game. So, here's my question for you. I've got 6 teams that are in the SEC, and I want you to tell me if they end the season with 1 loss or less, just based upon who they're playing, and if you think they would be favored to win that game.
Okay.
We'll start real easy. Bama. South Carolina today.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say Alabama is favored over South Carolina today?
100%.
Yeah. I have no idea what spread is.
11.5, according to the folks out in Vegas. Then they have LSU, Oklahoma, and then Auburn. Good Alabama run the table and end the season with just 1 loss.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly possible, but I mean, winning 4 straight ranked opponents already. Obviously, South Carolina's not a ranked opponent today, but Alabama's still got this very treacherous road ahead of them. It's not easy by any means. It's not Texas A&M schedule remaining, but it's still not an easy schedule. Of course, the Iron Bowl inside Jordan Hare, never an easy game. It's scary in there. It's not in October, but it's spooky nonetheless. Yeah, I mean, it's very possible for Alabama to run the table, but there's difficult teams ahead. Oklahoma's not as hard as we once thought. Auburn's definitely not as hard as we once thought this year.
But would you say Alabama would be favored in all of those games?
Yes, Alabama would be comfortably favored in those games.
Okay.
As they stand right now, they would be
Correct.
favored.
As we are going into the last Saturday of October, Jocktober, it's October. Georgia. They got Florida, Mississippi State, and Texas. Would you think Georgia is favored in all of their remaining SEC games?
No, they're not favored in the remaining of those SEC games. Now, if you ask me, can they win those games? Yes.
Who would they not be favored against?
Who would they not be favored?
And don't say Texas.
No, where are they playing the game?
I don't have that list.
I'm that's between the hedges. That's in Georgia.
But even if it was at Texas, I think Georgia's
you wouldn't
a favorite.
be favored in Georgia.
I think
Texas would be favored.
No, I think Georgia's favored even in Austin. If the game's in Austin, I think Georgia would be favored to win that game.
I think I was confused here. I thought we were going through Florida. We're going through Georgia.
Okay. Sorry.
Yes.
Georgia.
Yes. Okay. Let me rephrase everything I just said then. Yes.
November 15th, Texas at Georgia.
Texas at Georgia. Okay. Georgia would be favored in that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they can move through that unscathed. I think they would be favored.
All right.
Yeah.
Texas A&M has LSU, Missouri, South Carolina, and Texas. Would Texas A&M be favored in every game they have remaining on their schedule?
Yes, they would be.
No.
What game would you? What game would you?
What game are you?
Missouri.
Was that in Columbia?
I'm looking.
Richie, this is homework you should have done.
I didn't think it was going to be that much of a question.
Well,
I think.
Well, for the favoring and odd stuff, are we saying because these aren't on a neutral field, so we can't sit here.
Yeah,
and
true story.
Field, right? So
but I think
3
even
points that is going to go towards the home.
So Texas A&M gets to play number 20 LSU at LSU.
that's today.
That's today. I think A&M's favored.
Yes.
And then A&M goes to Texas and
A&M's favored.
plays that game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at the remaining schedule. What was the game we had in question?
Missouri.
Yeah.
At Missouri.
It's at Missouri.
Missouri.
So you would favor Missouri in that game. You think?
No, as it sits right now, if they go into LSU today, beat them, they're 100% favored, and I think they're going to go into LSU. So by my speculations, they will be favored in every game remaining.
So what you're saying then, Kelsey, if you take that logic, you're saying that A&M runs the SEC and wins out.
A&M is I think they don't have any losses within the SEC.
No, so, okay,
they're number one in the SEC.
Only undefeated team in the SEC.
They're right ahead of Bama, right? So
even if with that being said, so they have a loss that they could pull out if they needed to, and still have just one loss in the SEC.
Yeah.
Okay. So as it stands right now, I've gone through 3 teams. Alabama would be favored to lose one game for the season. That would be Florida State at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Georgia would be favored to lose one game, which would be the Alabama game that they've already lost.
Yep.
Texas A&M is possibly favored to win every game, and even if they drop one, they end with one loss. All right. Ole Miss. They got Oklahoma, South Carolina, Florida, and the Egg Bowl. Would you have Ole Miss favored in every game they have for the rest of the season?
Yeah, 100%. They're running it.
So they end the season with one loss.
Yep.
And then that leads into today's game, Vandy, Missouri. They both play each other. I think Missouri is the long shot here, so I'm going to pass them for right now. Vandy has Missouri, Texas, Auburn, Kentucky, and Tennessee.
They're not favored in every one of those.
I agree that they're not favored, but there is a possibility. So even with Vandy, Missouri not being counted, there is a very good chance Bama, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and Georgia in the season with one loss or less, and possibly 2 teams, 0 losses in the SEC. This is the traffic jam of all traffic jams.
Well, we go through this every year of the traffic jam that could ensue in the SEC, and the problem is this year is it's probably 10 times worse. Where's the wreck? There's a wreck that's happened on I-65 heading towards the college football playoff because
the big one at Talladega.
Yes, the comparison that I have gone through this is I'm going to steal this from Josh Pate's model. Is the SEC and Big 12 have kind of flipped a script here. Texas Tech has kind of ran the Big 12 this year. Now they do have a loss now, so that's a little bit different now. But it's in terms of the SEC is acting like the Big 12 because nobody knew who was going to take the conference at the beginning of the season.
Right.
And we go through it, and we still don't know. There's just a wide open playing field here to still make that conference championship. And the Big 12's kind of not really decided at this point, but they're getting closer to be decided. If Texas Tech keeps winning, then they will decide it pretty easily, which is what usually happens within the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
A very favorable team going into the SEC championship or 2 in that regard. We've seen Bama and Georgia run it completely for the last couple of years, and then LSU in 2020. There really hasn't been a ton of fluctuation. It looks like that's going to be the case this year.
Okay, let's say Vandy does go on an absolute heater and does beat Missouri today, Texas next week, Auburn, Kentucky, and then at the end of the season, Tennessee. Which one of those 5 gets left out? Bama, Ole Miss, Vandy, Texas A&M, and Georgia? Because we all agree at best the SEC gets 4 teams in, right? Which one gets left out?
Well, yeah, if you go head to head,
it's Vandy.
It's Vandy.
100%. It's Vandy.
Or Georgia.
Here's my argument with Georgia. Georgia's last game of the season is Georgia Tech, who could end up going the following week and winning the ACC and guaranteeing them the stuff. Could you keep Georgia out with one loss to Alabama, possibly a second loss to Alabama in the SEC championship game?
Assuming
if Texas A&M drops the game, you could have Georgia having two losses at the end of the season, both to Alabama, beating the ACC champion, and you're sitting there looking and going, do we put them over?
Well, but here's another thing we could look at too, is because we've talked about who is that last team in the Big Ten. Okay, you have Ohio State, you have Oregon, you have Indiana. Who's the last team?
I don't think there is one at this point.
You can't make the argument against Illinois. They got completely skull dragged against Indiana.
Against
Indiana, and then they beat USC. USC's kind of jumped back in the trajectory, but I don't think they're going to make it. There's no shot there. So if you take away a team from the Big Ten, can you give that team to the SEC and risk a bunch of pushback from fans?
Well, I don't think so, because I think when we really stop and pull back and look, the ACC is possibly going to put up Miami, Georgia Tech, the Big 10, the Big 12.
Yeah.
Obviously, we think Texas Tech, but Arizona State's now in a position where they could go on a run, and it could be them. You've got a situation here where then you've got Notre Dame out there doing Notre Dame things as they always seem to do. You have a situation where you could end up with just three Big Ten teams, Ohio State, and I'll be honest with you, I think Oregon would be the worst, is the worst of that three. Ohio State, Indiana, and Oregon.
Yeah, with that loss to Indiana, because we questioned Indiana so much, and so I can see
and they went to overtime with Penn State, and Penn State's just fallen off the planet,
It's in Happy Valley.
But is there a possibility to get five if Vandy goes absolutely insane?
I don't know if Vandy has that extra level that we haven't seen this year. And that's what I think the difference is of them making the CFP and not making the CFP. If they can jump it into that next year, are they a manual transmission with 4 years or 5 years, 5 years or 6 years? If we see that extra year, that would have to change our opinion on that. But we're running long on this segment, so we do have to take a quick break real quick here. Guys, we see the comments on YouTube. We want to thank you a lot for that. Keep getting involved. We really appreciate it. And we're going to get every comment we can get to here on the show today. You can hit us up on Facebook. One more segment left on YouTube, so you can hit us up on Facebook right after that. But we're going to take a quick break right now, and we'll be right back. blue thing off there? You see that? The blue. It's like highlighted. Seven 30 a.m. 103.9 FM, Jocks Huntsville. This is Off the Bench. Of course, your host here, Kelsey Huffine. Sitting in with me to my left is co-host Richie, and across from us is Pops on the production side, helping us out today. Of course, we have Walker back at the studio, holding down the fort for us back at the home studio here. We've been talking a bunch about the traffic on 65, and there's even more traffic in the Heisman Trophy race. Of course, I do want to hit on a few comments here before we leave off the YouTube side. Ray Flores thinks that Bama is going to run the table in the SEC. That is his diagnosis.
Good diagnosis, Ray.
Very, very good diagnosis.
Coming from the Texas boy, that's big words.
I would even say that's one sexy diagnosis.
The only man that's ever made me cry at a football game
was Ray Flores.
Yeah, when we were at the game together, Texas. Tailgating, Texas game at Florida at Bama last year.
I thought you were talking about his burritos.
Oh no, well they're hot enough, but yeah.
John Paul also hit us up on the socials, YouTube specifically here. The 4 SEC teams getting in the playoffs are definitely going to be Alabama, Georgia, Texas A&M, and Vanderbilt.
Okay.
I mean, I'm okay with that. I think Ole Miss would have something to say about Vanderbilt, but here's my thing with Vanderbilt is they're hanging on by that smallest thread. I just don't know if they beat Missouri, great. If they don't, then you're out completely today. I think that's just the way you have to break it down. John Paul also hitting us up saying you guys are way harsh on Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is getting in because they are the ones that have a star quarterback who will make the playoffs more watchable and entertaining. I saw this comment in the break, and I looked to Rich, and I said, I don't think that Pavia has the same star power he did last year, and he thoroughly disagreed with me.
I think my exact quote was, yes, he's the dollar store version of Johnny Manziel, yes, but he's the only Johnny Manziel we have this season. I actually have Pavia is the 5th best odds to win the Heisman as of late yesterday afternoon.
He's got to have a heck of a Heisman moment, and they've got to win out for that to happen.
I absolutely agree. Well, I mean, if they don't win out, they're not in regardless. That's an easy answer.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're going to get into the Heisman Trophy odds real quick here on the other side. We got to take a break here on the radio side. We are done with the YouTube side today. Thank you guys for listening and watching with us today. Love the engagement. Get back to us. We'll be live on location next week on YouTube. We're going to see you guys next week. Keep listening.
Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Hit the bell.